time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? Damas y caballeros, it's your boy Dave from the 408, broadcasting to you all the way from the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, and also, unless you've been living under a rock, the capital of UFOs. Right, Gayle? Right, Drew? Oh,
well, I'm hearing,
man.
that's what I'm hearing. I got to go out and check that out.
Not only the capital of fights and UFOs, but also the future home of the NHL Stanley Cup champions. Let's not jinx it. Let's go Golden Knights and everybody rooting for them. Joining me tonight for a very special Shoe Shine, all the way, of course, is my co-host from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, Drew Evo. Drew, ¿qué pasa?
What's up, Dave?
And joining me, it's always a pleasure, and Drew, to have at PR Pro San Diego, Gayle Falkenthal, full-fledged voting member of the Boxing Writers Association. Congratulations, Gayle. And I know that there's two guys that fought this weekend that we will probably be debating, and you'll get the vote someday for Adrien Broner, perhaps, 4-division world champion. Or how about the guy who became a 2-division world champion, beating the linear guy? Will we be discussing Teofimo someday for a potential shot at the Boxing Hall of Fame? I think so. It was a great weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something to watch if you're a boxing fan, as well as, UFC and all the good stuff. But let's get right into it, Gayle, because you were at this momentous event that I think might be a Fight of the Year contender. A lot of people are buzzing about that, and it was hard to pay attention. I was just telling Gayle, Drew, that I had my big TV was set on this Teofimo fight because I thought Josh Taylor was going to show up to fight, but lo and behold, the true best fight of the night was the Sergey Derevchenko and Jaime Munguia. Nothing at stake, 168 pounds. But truly a beast of a fight. Gayle, what were your thoughts as the night was emerging? Because the card, what you said, was rolling just fine.
It was a terrific card, actually top to bottom, an all-action card. In fact, when the middleweight fight started between Shane Mosley Jr. and Demetrius Ballard, it was going along just fine, but crowd started booing him a couple of rounds in because of the lack of action. And then next thing you know, Mosley gets, probably the best knockout of his career. So the atmosphere was StubHub-like, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. It really was. Crowd was in their seats early. They were there. They were ready. And they got the fight of the weekend. So far, it is my leader for Fight of the Year. It was only June 10th, so we got a lot of fight time to go, but it's the leader in the clubhouse for sure. And there was a lot at stake. There was no belt at stake. Technically, there was a WBC silver, but, come on, who are we fooling? There was no major title at stake. However, the future of both fighters was absolutely at stake. If you can call a fight between somebody who's been in the ring with, nearly every veteran in his weight divisions and come very close to winning, for sure, the best fighter with 5 losses on his record in boxing right now, Sergey Derevchenko, and Jaime Munguia, undefeated in his mid-20s, looking at a fork in the road. Win, there's a lot of potential for you. A lot of great fights and big paychecks ahead. Fame and fortune, everything a boxer wants. You lose, wah, wah. And he proves his critics right, that when he steps up to major competition, he can't hack it. Well, he had to dig really deep to get that win. There were a lot of us had very narrow cards. I had at a point going the other direction. I wasn't unhappy to see him win, given the effort he put out in those last 2 rounds. It was a squeaker. It was competitive. Both guys unloaded everything they had. Back and forth, momentum to the fight. And just a whole lot of golpes. How can you not love it?
Exactly. I want to go to Drew because I bet the guys listening just can't wait to hear Drew's opinion on, did Jaime Munguia get a gift? Jaime Munguia was hurt multiple times, but I can't count the number of times I heard Sergio say, Derevchenko's rocked, Derevchenko's hurt, because every other round I felt like someone was on the verge of getting dropped. Particularly in that fifth round, Jaime Munguia seemed to be out on his feet. But there was numerous times, Drew, that Derevchenko looked like he was about to go down, and down he did go in the 12th round. So, Drew, I'm going to pour myself this shot of Añejo because Oscar De La Hoya said, Gayle, that a fight between Munguia and Canelo Alvarez was the fight to save Mexican boxing. Now, Jaime picking up this win, I can drink to that because it appears we may still someday see the fight to save Mexican boxing. Drew, what was your take on this? Did Jaime Munguia eke out a slim victory with that 12th round knockdown, or was it a gift?
He lost this fight.
Uh-oh.
Like, he lost this fight. I had it 116 to 113. I had it 8-4.
Wow.
I did not think he won this fight. And the thing about it is, Derevchenko never fought at 168. Jaime Munguia had. And it looked like part of the fight that the smaller guy was bullying Jaime Munguia. He had him on the ropes. He had him hurt. He was bullying him. The last two, I had Jaime Munguia win the last 2 rounds of my card, but I had it 8-4, 116, 113. Derevchenko. I thought it was kind of a gift decision, and I think there needs to be a rematch between these two. Like, it was a good action-packed fight, but it needs to be a rematch. Like, I didn't think that he won the fight. I think he clearly lost the fight, and it's unfortunate that Derevchenko's been on the wrong ends of numerous decisions, including now 3 of them that he should have won. In Triple G, he clearly beat him. Daniel Jacobs, he clearly beat him. And Jaime Munguia, he's clearly beaten him. So, tell you the truth, all the top guys at 160 beat Jaime Munguia. All the top guys at 168 beat Jaime Munguia. And I'm not counting Eddie Berlanga because he's nowhere near a top guy. That guy gets smoked by Jaime Munguia. So, I look at it like this. Like, has he been, like, this is like the most hurt and bullied I've seen Jaime Munguia actually been in his career. And it was against a smaller guy, a guy that never fought at 168, a guy he clearly has a couple of inches of height advantage against, and the smaller guy bullied him. So, like, is there going to be a rematch? No, they're not going to put him back in there with Derevchenko. They know it was too close of a call for them to put him in there with Derevchenko. I can really see maybe a Berlanga fight because I think people need to stop bringing up Berlanga and Canelo together because Berlanga's fighting in the end of June, early July, and Canelo's trying to fight in September. So how the hell is he going to fight in September, Berlanga? Seriously. And I think people need to stop bringing it up because Sampson already confirmed the fight's not happening with Benavidez and Canelo. I think the fanboys of Benavidez are a little bit hurt now. And they want to think of a reason why to make it that Canelo is trying to fight Edgar Berlanga. And I'll be the first one to admit, if he fights Berlanga, it's a cherry pick. If he fights Jaime Munguia, it's also a cherry pick because Jaime Munguia has no business in the same ring as Canelo Alvarez. This does not save Mexican boxing. It only downgrades it as a cherry pick because the only fight that can save Mexican boxing, and he's not even for Mexican, is Canelo versus David Benavidez.
Gayle, I have to ask you, going into the 12th round ringside, did you feel the sense that Jaime Munguia had to potentially knock out Derevchenko or maybe have 2 knockdowns? This fight reminded me a little bit of, it was giving me those vibes of Sergio Martinez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. That he was going to pull off the Julio Cesar Chavez was clearly down on every scorecard. I think it was very evident, but it was giving me that vibes that Jaime was going to do that. It was actually going to put away Derevchenko in the 12th. But this fight was very competitive. But in your eyes, did you think he had to do that, or you think that was just enough? Those scorecards were pretty close, 114, 113. I'm not opposed to those two. There was some serious swing rounds in this one.
There were some very serious swing rounds. I will note for Drew, out of Derevchenko's 19 fights, 8 of them have been above 160. So to say he's the smaller guy, both of them were coming up from their previous fights. But Derevchenko's first 4 fights of his career were at 168, and he's had 4 more since then. Now, maybe they were the catch weights. He didn't max out the weight, according to the records, but he certainly had enough experience with guys at super middleweight. I did think that Munguia needed a knockout or knockdown to win or draw, and a draw was a potential. My colleagues on press row agreed for the most part. And once we saw the scores, if you look at that scorecard, the judges agreed on 11 of the 12 rounds. So yes, I think a very difficult fight to score in parts, but when do we get that kind of unanimity in a fight where judging was an issue? Very infrequently. The only judge who diverged from the otherwise 100% agreement was, and you have to know, when you see Dr. Lumaret's name as one of the judges, you start being concerned. He gave 1 extra round, the third, to Munguia. The other 2 judges, Rudy Barragan and Fernando Villarreal, very well-known judges in Southern California, had given to Derevchenko. Now, many of us ringside, me for sure, saw in the 8th round Derevchenko get hit by Munguia and stumble. His knee touched the canvas. For the briefest moment, his right knee buckled and touched the canvas. Technically, that was a knockdown that was not scored. We looked at the officials discussing it during the break between rounds after the 8th, and we thought we might get replay. We, in the end, did not. Would that have made any difference to anyone who thought that the fight was the other direction? Didn't end up mattering, as it turned out. The irony of this, for any of you that had followed the pre-fight discussions, is that originally this didn't have the minor WBC strap involved at all. It was a non-title fight, and it was intended under California rules. It should have been a 10-round fight. The contract was signed for 12. Munguia's camp offered Derevchenko reportedly 6 figures, $100,000 on top of his $400,000 purse, to make it a 10-round fight. He's a notoriously slow starter. They felt that would have given him an edge. Plus, Munguia's conditioning, from time to time has been a question. Derevchenko's team said, nope, 12 rounds, nothing doing, don't want your money. If he'd accepted that money, he would have won the fight. After 10 rounds, he was well ahead on the scorecards. Munguia won the last 2 rounds and got that knockdown to make it stick.
True.
It was just that crazy of a fight.
That's a great point. They kept pointing out the fact that they did ask, Jaime Munguia's camp asked to have it shortened to 10 rounds, and that appeared to Derevchenko and his people maybe as a weakness. And they said, the hell with the extra cash. Let's go all 12. It's going to be an advantage. Drew, do you think that worked? I mean, 6 figures they gave up. And like Gayle pointed out, Derevchenko all but really he really had this fight under the bag at 10 rounds. And then he ultimately got dropped. It was his conditioning that he couldn't keep up with the offensive output of Jaime. Jaime rallied back in 10, 11, 12, which could have been the deciding factor for almost all the judges.
And the other issue was the fight was originally at 160. Like a week before fight week, they asked to have the fight changed to 168 because it wasn't going to be, as they claim, that they petitioned the WBC to You have this fight for the WBC title and have Charlo as being stripped or champion in recess, and the WBC refuse, and that's why they made the fight at 168. No, that's not the real reason. The real reason why is Jaime here cannot weight 160 anymore. That is the main reason. He's having trouble making 160, so they decide to make a reason up to have the fight at 168. And they say, why not? Let's petition WBC in the scene if they will strip Charlo or make him champion recess and have the fight for that WBC title. And there was no way in hell you can have that fight for that title, because the actual mandatory of the WBC, I think it is Carlos Adonis. If you're going to have that fight, you have to have Munguia versus Adonis for this fight, for that belt, not Munguia versus Dovichenko. So I think he could not make 160 anymore, and I don't think he's going back to 160. I think he's going to campaign at 168 going forward, and he's going to have major problems in this division, and it's just point blank. He's going to have major problems because if he's out fighting nobodies, Edgar Berlanga, or he's fighting these top guys, and he does not beat these top guys. None of them. I think they clearly beat him. I think it might be easy at times.
Hey guys, I want to invite everyone to hit that like button. You know, it helps us with the algorithm. Share if you don't mind on your social media. And don't forget, you guys can call in live. We are a live call-in show. If you guys want to get your voice heard tonight in your opinion, go ahead and hit that phone. Dial us in, tap in. We cannot talk about 168 without talking about the undisputed champion of the world, Canelo Alvarez. Gayle, that breaking news that we heard today, everyone expected Canelo in September to be fighting potentially, our dream would be David Benavidez or Dimitri Bivol, the negotiations going back and forth about a weight class. And today we had this breaking news. And now Drew points out that Jaime Munguia, where does he go? Well, his best natural choice at the zone is the new house fighter, Edgar Berlanga. A great matchup potentially between a all-action fighter, Mexican fighter, and a Puerto Rican fighter that's got a large KO percentage. I think it's a great fight because it looks like, can you tell us what you know? But it looks like Canelo Alvarez is very close to making a deal to campaign at cruiserweight, something he had wanted to do against Makabu. Now we have Badou Jack as the new champion. Is this look like a real possibility that he's going to fight Badou Jack or potentially Charlo as a plan B?
There's no way that Canelo is fighting David Benavidez. It's not happening. He wants Bivol. Bivol's made it very clear. If he wants a rematch, it's at 168. You put your belts up against me, because it's not in Bivol's best interest to risk his light heavyweight title ahead of a potential matchup with Artur Beterbiev or whoever has got the other straps at that point. So Bivol isn't happening. And Bivol's manager, Vadim Kornilov, has made that clear for weeks. And if nobody was paying attention, well, you can pay attention now. That's just not happening. To me, before this weekend, it really did come down, assuming Munguia would win, we are going to end up with both of our Mexican super middleweights fighting over Edgar Berlanga, which is sort of ridiculous when you think about it. But Canelo may be clearing the way, fighting Badou Jack, and it does not surprise me one bit. And if you hear an actual legit Saudi money offer is on the table, you can count on it. You can count on it. It gives Canelo another trophy to reach for in his career. Lord knows the man does not need the money. He is willing to take a cut, and he was willing to take a cut against Bivol to get that fight. Money is not the object for him, but a strap in another weight division, fighting in the Middle East in front of that audience, that's very attractive to Canelo. And he's been asked this question. I've asked him these questions, and he's very open to that potential. So you're going to see Munguia and Berlanga, assuming Berlanga does not get smoked in his next fight. However, there is a small wrinkle I think will not end up making any difference. But after the fight, as the media were talking to Munguia and Derevyanchenko after the fight. One of the members of the news media hands, I believe it was the media, it might have been one of his team members, hands Munguia the phone. Hey, I got a phone call for you. It's Jose Benavidez Sr., David's father and trainer. They eventually put the call on speaker, and we can hear that Benavidez Sr. is congratulating him on his win and saying that he would love to get a fight together between his son and Jaime. Well,
Yeah.
sure. Why wouldn't Benavidez want that fight? Yeah, he would absolutely have the upper hand. And if you thought we had a wild fight on Saturday, forever, however long it lasted, it would be a pretty damn wild fight between Benavidez and Munguia. In the immediate aftermath, did we all think that sounded fun? Sure. Is it going to happen? No.
No.
You have
No?
promoter issues. It's not realistic. And to his credit and the credit of his trainer, the great Eric Morales, they both said, we got a lot to work on. They've got a lot to work on.
They don't think that Jaime Munguia is ready for the equally young David Benavidez?
Munguia showed a great chin.
Oh, he's got a tremendous
Great
chin.
fortitude. He punches like a mule, but he was standing in front of a guy with an even better chin in Derevyanchenko, equally determined. They were both out on their feet at different times during this fight. They both rocked each other. When Munguia finally started going up the middle, landing the uppercuts, landing to the body, that's where he started finding success. He should have fought Derevyanchenko in those early rounds at the end of his longer reach. Instead, Derevyanchenko said, come here, man. We're going to make this a firefight. And Jaime said yes. That was not a smart thing to do. But he got lucky. He held on.
Yeah, I've said it time and time again.
And hey, we got a great fight out of it. But they know, he and his team know, they've got a lot to work on. He cannot be standing there and offering his face as his defense. And he did not invest in the body early. If he was going to get into that kind of fight, well, heck, if you're going to have a close quarters battle when you don't need to, go to the body. Ringside, we had for commentating for TV, for Box Azteca, a Mexican TV, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. And midway through the fight, as he has been known to do, Chavez Sr. stood up ringside in his commentary position and started yelling instructions to Munguia to go up the middle. Media, go up the middle. And sure enough, actually, when Munguia did that, he won the fight. On the other side of the ring, you had Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins on their feet, also yelling instructions. Oscar shadowboxing like he was in the ring, which simply added to the entertainment value of the whole damn thing.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to give a shout out to our wonderful chat. Sin City Syndicate says boxing is on life support for Mexican Independence Weekend in Las Vegas. Gayle, we didn't have the pleasure of seeing Canelo Alvarez here in May. It was a very, very quiet Cinco de Mayo. And I have to say, from the metrics on YouTube, I was simply shocked by how well our channel did Fight Week for David Benavidez. So I have to wonder if these two guys actually entertained, but it doesn't seem like, from your knowledge, that the fight between Munguia and Benavidez would take place in September. But if they were to, I wouldn't mind seeing some promoters go toe-to-toe with Canelo, especially if all Canelo is offering Mexican fight fans is a fight in Saudi Arabia against a past his prime Badu Jack. I mean, sure, it sounds enticing. He's going up to cruiserweight. But I think the fight that would deliver more action and much more pay-per-views. Say what you guys want in the chat, but I think of David Benavidez and Jaime Munguia could absolutely go toe-to-toe. And I haven't seen any promoter willing to challenge Canelo on those fight dates. So, Drew, are you going to be pleased with the selection either way of either of these three fighters, Benavidez, Munguia, Canelo, on September?
I think people are really not missing the point. They're thinking that Berlanga's going to get back past Scott Quigley. I don't think he beats Scott Quigley. I think Quigley's going to beat him. I think this guy had beat a really good game, Shane Mosley Jr. That's his best win. And tell you the truth, Berlanga's not going to do what Demetrius Andre did to Quigley. He doesn't have half the skill, not even half or a quarter of the skill Demetrius Andre had. And he looked bad the last couple fights too, Berlanga. He hasn't been able to knock out anybody beyond a C-level fighter. So, I'm picking Quigley to beat Berlanga. And the luck of the Irish. That's what's going to happen.
Well, Jason
But
Quigley has gotten smoked pretty badly on more than one occasion. I believe he lost to Blair Cobb. So, there's that. Listen, there have been many, many Mexican Independence Day weekends in Las Vegas that did not feature a Mexican fighter. It featured a fighter named Floyd Mayweather.
Right.
So it's not a given. Just because, pardon, my dogs are very excited. Just because you've got that fight weekend doesn't necessarily mean you have a fight weekend populated with Mexican fighters. It is possible that your actual competition, let's assume we do have, for the sake of argument, Canelo and Badu Jack in Saudi Arabia, right? You could possibly, should he have an easy win coming up in July, have that fight weekend in Las Vegas go to the UFC's Brendan Moreno. I think that's a big possibility.
Oh, that sounds awfully exciting.
That there's not a direct boxing competitor in Vegas for fight fans, but UFC.
I think we can all remember Canelo Alvarez waiting in his green room, waiting for the UFC to be done, right? How will I ever get that image out of my head? Drew, go ahead.
I look at it like this. I'm not interested in the Bottom Jack fight. I'm not interested. The only fight I am interested in is a David Benavidez fight for Canelo Alvarez. You had your tune-up. It's time to fight It's time to fight somebody now. Fight another person now. You fought all these good champions and took their belts and became undisputed. You came and you fought arguably the best light heavyweight in the world, and you lost to him. You broke your hand. You had surgery. You came back. You had your tune-up. It was a fight that no one participated it was going to be, but you had your tune-up. If the only way I see that Benavidez fight happening, if Anicio Sumimov orders it to happen and mandates it. And I'll tell you the truth right now, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets mandated soon. I think Jose Benavidez and Sampson are going to petition him to make this fight happen. Because I don't if it's going to be September or it's going to be January of 2024. This fight happens, or Cinco de Mayo next year. But I am not going to stand by and let these people tell me Canelo can do whatever he wants. Let me tell you guys something. We let Floyd Mayweather do what he wants, and look at the state of boxing got put in because of Floyd Mayweather wanting to fight guys that are at the end of their careers or guys that were exposed already. We don't need that Canelo doing that now. We need Canelo to do better. We need Canelo to step up and say, yo, I'm an undisputed champion, and I'm gonna make the best fights possible to save boxing and to get it out of the life support that it is right now. Because if the fans allow him and keep saying Canelo can do whatever he wants, just like when I said, the only way that this Bivol fight happens again, if he puts those belts up against Bivol, and it's fair because the man beat you and defended his belts against you, and people said that's not right. That's fanboying to me. You're looking for a reason for Canelo not to risk his crown because you know if he loses those belts, he's done. That's the legacy he has left. going up to beat an old bottom jack. I don't think he beats bottom jack still. Not this bottom jack. A cruiserweight. This is going to be the same result as the Bevo fight.
Ooh.
He went up to a big weight class. He went up 2 weight classes and lost to this bigger guy because the bigger guy will push him back. This ain't, and plus, Canelo has been through the battles. This isn't young Canelo that went up and fought a Kovalev that was barely 2 months off the Anthony Yard fight. This is Bottom Jack that won that belt a while ago off Makabu. And this is not, and this is a mistake by Canelo. If I was him, I would go fight Charlo. I would go fight Benavidez, but I want the Benavidez fight. I think we cannot, as boxing fans, need to demand the cash cow to risk it all because Floyd was afraid to risk it all. This guy needs to set an example again and prove that boxing is back to where it was. And if he doesn't fight Benavidez and these fans allow it, boxing is not only going to be on life support, you might as well put the freaking plug right now on it and end the whole sport as it is because it's going to be a joke.
Oh, Drew making the case for make boxing great again in 2024. Drew, that was a great rant. I want to pivot to someone now that we have Gayle, a actual voting member of the Hall of Fame. And I said this earlier, someday we will be debating whether or not, the fans will be debating, but Gayle will be actually making a vote. If someone like Adrien Broner, the problem, the 4-division world champion who made his return this Friday and actually came in shape and let his hands go, if someone like Adrien Broner will be worthy of the Hall of Fame. But for now, we can just debate, is Adrien Broner ready for the top dogs at 140 pounds? Because he took on, we frequently joke about Uber drivers and cab drivers, but this time was the actual full-time attorney as his opponent, a glorified club fighter from the East Coast, a guy who refused to go down. And I'm anxious, Gayle, because I know I saw you write an article. And this week, he brought the hilarity. Drew, I don't know if you heard him, but he did interviews where he started the interview off talking about his weight and his private parts. That was just the beginning, because his post-fight interview, he talked about his sex life almost instantaneously. The jokes never stop with Adrien Broner. But Gayle, I got to ask you, this is Don King. He's looking to have a resurgence, a revival, an Adrien Broner Part 2, a second chapter of his legacy, should I say. Does he actually stand a chance against the young people like Teofimo Lopez, who just became world champion, who just beat the lineal champ, against someone who is in his 30s but doesn't fight like he's in his 30s? He'll be fighting this week, Regis Prograis. Does he stand a chance against those guys? Does he stand a chance against a young Devin Haney moving up to 140? Now, I heard him say he wants to fight, what do you call it, Ramiro Retardo? I mean, the jokes never stop. Gayle, tell me, were you impressed with his return to the ring? And for the matter, were you impressed with the production that Don King does in his 90s?
I'm impressed that Don King is still working. He and Bob Arum are going to continue until the day that they're not above ground anymore and able to promote fights. And I applaud him for that. I admire that he's still in business. Never mind that he's done a whole lot of reprehensible criminal things in his career. His longevity itself is impressive. But come on. I did not pay to see this pay-per-view. We had another reporter at nyfights.com, fall on the sword, agree to cover this fight. He did. I rely on him. I was monitoring boxing Twitter. That was entertaining. A lot of very funny people out there watching this fight, including Regis Prograis. I was watching other card choices on Friday night. I had my other assignments. I have been irritated with Adrien Broner and his approach to the sport for years. Early in his career, he made jokes about blowing through the scale. He weight bullied multiple B-side opponents. He beat the crap out of Vicente Escobedo, who had to retire due to the beatdown, who got weight bullied in an early fight. That's unforgivable in my book. He has won some of those divisions, you know, with vacant titles and no name opponents, and they also bullied some of those commissions. It irritates me to see someone with great talents, great natural talents, which Adrien Broner, make no mistake, has talent. He's squandered a lot of it. He's clearly battled demons outside the ring. I'll grant him that.
Mhm.
Does he even deserve another opportunity to go for another title? 140 is a very hot division. Adrien Broner does draw eyeballs, draws money, draws tickets. I'm sure we'll not really ever get a clear report on how his pay-per-view Friday did. But I'll tell you a fight I wouldn't mind seeing is Adrien Broner and Rolly Romero. And he called out Romero. There's two heels, two guys who can absolutely sell a fight.
Right.
I'm not opposed to that. Um, Honestly, I'm not opposed to feeding him to Ryan Garcia either, because there we'd also have a sellable fight, bankable, marketable fight. But no, do I think Broner fares well against the top names in a very, very talent-filled competitive division? No, hell no, no. And Lord knows what will happen between Friday night and Broner's next fight. Does he put on 30 pounds between now and then? Does he get in legal trouble between now and then? Does he father a ninth or 10th child between now or then?
Yikes.
All of the above. And most of those kids are with different baby mamas. I can't even fathom what the man's child support bills are like. He's probably got to fight because he owes so much damn child support. But he and Don King have found in each other, you know, the partner of last resort. And here we are. Bill Hutchinson did what he could, but come on. He's a part-time club fighter out of Pittsburgh, who, you know, got an opportunity. Good for him. The fact that Broner couldn't get him out of there, seriously? I mean, really? So we'll see what happens. At this moment in time, absent any other information, I would not choose to have Adrien Broner enter the Boxing Hall of Fame.
Wow. Thank you for that early vote. Drew, we're going to move on really quickly, guys. We won't spend any much more time on Adrien Broner because they want to hear about the blueprint, Drew, and everybody wants to talk about Teofimo Lopez. And I promised just to have Gayle on for the full hour, so we'll be moving on. Drew, were you impressed by Adrien Broner's return to the ring? He let his hands go. He could not get a Pennsylvania native out of the ring, a club fighter, a full-time attorney. Does he stand a chance with anybody but Rolando Romero, or as he called him, Ramundo Retardo, or whatever name he's come up with?
Well, he looked like shit, to be honest with you. Anybody besides Roy Romero, I tell you the truth, Ryan Garcia doesn't really hit his ceiling. Like, he reached his ceiling when it comes to skills and everything. I don't think he's a complete fighter. I would probably put money on Adrien Broner to beat Ryan Garcia just to see if I can win some money, because I'm about to take. I took his nickname off of him already, the Can Man, because anybody can get it when it comes to me and everything. But
Okay.
But Rolly Romero, I would put money on Adrien Broner to beat Rolly Romero. I think all these guys beat Rolly Romero. It's a shame that Rolly is this popular because he's the easiest guy to beat, because he's not a complete fighter either. I don't know how the hell he got the decisions against the one guy, and he got the title gifted to him because he had to do it on the ropes and he wasn't even hurt. And Tony Weeks wanted to play huggy and stop the fight and everything. But nah, I think Adrien Broner is way past his prime. He's not the same fighter. He has not been the same since DeMarcus and Maidana, because if you guys looked at him, all those fights before that, he was comfortably beating them, and he didn't have to dig deep. When he has to dig deep, he's not digging deep. He's just going to be that guy, just be like this.
Listen, for his sake, Drew, I wouldn't mind seeing that Rolando Romero fight, a local Las Vegas guy who just got gifted that 140 pound. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think it'd be epic trash talk. It might be fun for the sport, not great for the sport, but fun for the sport. And then he can negotiate a deal to fight Regis Prograis or somebody that's actually can fight these days. So, but that being said, let's talk about the true linear new champ of the 140 pound division. Drew, you posted a video at the last minute. I do appreciate that. It's always fun. A very controversial guy. Teofimo has said some things that are deplorable, quite honestly. His antics are wild. People speculate on his mental fitness, whether or not he has mental illness. But I will give the guy his due credit. When Teofimo is mentally fit and physically fit, he can put on a display, and that he's proved time and time again to beat the cream of the crop. What happened with Kambosos? I don't know. That's a case of... as he, where I said mentally fit, he wasn't there. Physically fit, perhaps he did have that injury to his pulmonary or his whatever part of his body that was. But what he did Saturday night was nothing short of spectacular, putting on a clinic and shutting out the former undisputed champion in Josh Taylor. Gayle, early on, I said I was busy anticipating that being the fight of the night. I thought, and most of my colleagues that do the podcasting thought, that the Josh Taylor that whooped on Jose Ramirez, the former unified champ out of Fresno, was going to show up to Brooklyn this weekend for Puerto Rican. We thought that Josh Taylor was coming to fight. Lukey Boxing, shout out to him, came on our show last Monday and said, don't count Teo out. There is potentially, when he's hearing rumblings that perhaps Josh Taylor's not fully recovered from an injury. And by all accounts, I'm watching the fight with my wife, who my wife listens and supports the podcast, and said, Lukey was right. There's something wrong with that guy's leg because he can't plant his foot for full power, and he's having some difficulty in his mobility. And then here comes the showcase, the Teofimo we all know, the supreme athleticism. Gayle, was it a case of a Josh Taylor not showing up to fight, or should you just give Teo the full credit he deserves and doing something spectacular, making mincemeat of Josh Taylor on Saturday?
As with many things, I think the truth lies down the middle. Your wife is a very smart woman.
Well, thank you. You hear that, babe?
Yeah. Admittedly, I watched the fight having known the outcome. I did not see it till Sunday morning. And what I found myself looking at, as much as Teo's performance, which admittedly was excellent, Taylor could not plant his feet. His footwork was a disaster. Mm-hmm. He was off balance the entire fight. So it contributed a lot to the outcome of a fight. It did. Would he have still lost had he been physically fit? I think he probably would have, but it would have been closer. Everyone is ready to anoint Lopez as the new king of boxing. I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on it. I saw a very, very good performance. I did not see. I missed seeing what a lot of my colleagues have seen. It was good. It wasn't great. I thought I didn't love the close scorecards, but they weren't an outrage to me after I watched it. Taylor was certainly not in the condition he was when he beat Regis Prograis in the World Boxing Super Series. I'm, like a lot of people, thought he lost the fight against Jack Catterall. Clearly, he has definitely declined. CompuBox put out a very interesting report about Taylor's historical punch output. Mm-hmm. And it has dropped in every one of his last 6 fights, down to a very distressing percentage. He's at the end of a career, whether driven by physical problems or, the lack of mental fortitude that he needs to fight the top talents in a very competitive division. It's just not there. He didn't have it. And to his credit, Lopez spotted it, saw it, pounced on it, played with it. He's wildly entertaining. Mm-hmm. A good Teofimo Lopez is better for boxing. So for that reason, I was very glad to see the win. And folks, he's not retiring. You can all calm down. He's got some things he needs to take care of outside the ring, and I hope he does because he needs to be mentally focused. He's not retiring. So we'll see where he decides to go after this. He's got a lot of options. I do hope that eventually all these belts get unified.
Again,
I think he should steer well clear of Devin Haney right now, who's all wrong for him stylistically. He needs somebody who's willing to come at him. There are promoter issues and barriers with some of these guys. If he's smart, fans aren't going to love this. He tries to wait out and age out Regis Prograis just a little bit, and Prograis probably going to go up a division anyway. I'm not sure how much longer he can stick around. I think Shakur smokes him. So we'll see. I do think, although I don't think it's a competitive fight at this point, seeing him and Ryan Garcia together would certainly be interesting. But he has options now, and he has a strong case for cherry picking whoever it is he wants to fight next.
absolutely. Drew made that video. You guys all love to, when Drew's incorrect, you all love to bash on Drew. But Drew, this was a very difficult 50-50 fight to call last week. And I have to say, based on Lopez's very abysmal, poor performance against Sandor Martin, and Catterall also seemingly beating and not getting the nod in his, it was a difficult fight to call, right, Drew?
Look at it like this. I bring these people here because they want to listen to me and they want to try to get on me. And they want to try to get on me. But at the end of the day, I'm not wrong a lot. And that's the funny thing about it. They don't have that opportunity a lot to get on me. But the thing about it is I was wrong about this, and I do admit I was wrong about this because I'm man enough to admit it. Not like some people out there and everything. But here's the thing. I thought Taylor won early rounds, and I had a 7-5 Teofimo. I thought he won early rounds, Taylor. And the people that think this was one-sided, to the second half, it became more one-sided. It became more of a better performance for Teofimo, but Taylor banked early rounds in this fight. And I think people weren't looking at it. They even tell you the truth, when he was off balance and he slipped, he got hit too. That should have been a knockdown. Tell you, that should have been more than knockdown in favor of Taylor. So if you look at it like that, that wasn't called. But I look at it like this. Taylor, I think his trainer had the wrong game plan. He did not have no sense of urgency. I really don't know what the hell he was talking to him in the corner, what advice he was giving him. I don't know why he changed trainers, because I thought Bank Davison is a hell of a trainer, and I thought that was the perfect trainer for Josh Taylor. I don't know if it was the Patrick Callahan shit that made him banned in the United States. I'm not sure. But Teofimo did not look great. He looked good. He beat the man of the division. He is the literal champion now. And I'm going to disagree with Gayle on one thing. I think he beats Devin Haney because here's the thing. Devin Haney, he's not going to be able to do that hugging crap anymore. He's going to be more of what he did against Loma, because Devin Haney got somewhat exposed in that fight, in that Loma fight. I think Teofimo can move around, can still move, can box his ass off, and I think he catches Devin Haney. Devin Haney is easy to counter now. I think Shakur beats Teofimo. I think that fight could be potentially one-sided. But Ryan Garcia, that's a one-sided fight for Teofimo. I think Teofimo stops him in 5 rounds. Maybe less if he did it right. If he just went for the knockout, if he just went to set him up, he'll knock him out inside 5 rounds. He does not beat Regis Prograis. I think Prograis beats him. I think Teofimo beats Jose Ramirez. I really don't think Ramirez is really like legitimate elite fighter that people thought he was, because I think Josh Taylor easily handled him. I really had Josh Taylor clearly up on the cards in that fight. I could only give him as 3 rounds in that fight. But Teofimo now holds the cards. He says he's retired. I don't believe it. I think he's trying to. I hear people saying he's just trying to not make that much income, so when the wife tries to get half of the money, she ain't gonna really get shit. And then he just comes back in and everything. Say, I make the money. She can't get my 50% of that no more. But he's going through a custody battle, which puts a lot of pressure on him too. I think take care of your custody battle, take care of your personal stuff before you get back in the ring. It's not worth fighting now. You're on your time. Then you're in a promoter dispute and everything. Now, tell you the truth, you're not getting out of your top rate contract. You're not getting out of it. You're gonna be fighting on ESPN again, regardless. And if you decide to wait it out, you can. I don't know if you can freeze your contract, but you are owed. You are entitled to him to at least 2 more years worth of fights. So it's a lot. I don't think this division gets fully unified because Matchroom, PBC, Top Rank. I don't think the fights can be made off of network politics. And like, I would not be surprised if this does not happen. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up after fighting a couple more times at 140, seeing that he's not going to unify in this division. Like, it will probably be smart if he moves up. But Devin Haney, I don't think he beats Teofimo. And I think he avoids the fight.
Gayle, I have to ask you, I put up the 4 champions now here. It's because of Josh Taylor that we've even got this scenario, because he said he just could not simply afford to pay all these sanctioning fees. And by the way, if you were trying to call on the show, go ahead and call. But I want to get Gayle's take, because you've brought up Shakur Stevenson, Drew. Shakur Stevenson is off, and he's a fighter at 135 pounds, just got there. He was in Houston, I believe, chasing down Haney, looking for this fight. At 135 pounds, apparently he brought a big billboard that said, sign the fight. Gayle, is 140-pound division the one we all need to be paying attention? Will that be the division to save boxing in 2023? It seems everybody, including Ryan Garcia, you name it, they're all moving, or including Adrien Broner. He says, I'm in the mix now. They all want to fight at 140 pounds.
Well, I'm glad you brought this back up. As I was listening to Drew talk about Canelo, being obligated to save boxing. Canelo is not obligated to save boxing. And Canelo's still got great performances left in him, but his best days are behind him. It's not his obligation to save boxing. It's these young guns that will save boxing, if it's to be saved. I would argue that the fans who insist on poaching live streams and draining the money that promoters need to operate, they're the ones ruining boxing. If you can't stage a fight and make any money, it's not going to happen. Who's to blame for that? So if the business model is wrong, it needs to be corrected. But the fans don't get a say. It's a business. That's why Saudi money, as reprehensible as I find that, and the whole sports washing issue going on across multiple sports, I get it. Because people are in business to make money, and boxing is a sport that is a business. My rant's over. We do need to be paying attention to all of the fighters around 135, 140, and 147. Because once we have Spence and Crawford get their business conducted, we're going to see fighters shuffling, and some of the 140s are going to see those opportunities once those belts are unified. At some point down the road in the near future, they're going to be dropped and they're going to be available. This is the mix that, if boxing is to be saved, will save boxing. The heavyweight division always has a say. Heavyweight boxing is still very healthy in Great Britain. Still a lot of prospects there. And thankfully, we have one truly talented American heavyweight prospect to hang our hopes on, and that is Jared Anderson. And I do think he possibly can resurrect interest in boxing. He's charismatic, he's talented. He also has a few things to work on, but there's a lot of potential there. So yes, let's see these young guys get it on. And the good news is that at least so far, they've proven to us they're willing to do it. Haney was willing to go to Australia and take a chance on himself, and it paid off. Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia took a chance on themselves. And for Tank, it paid off. He needs to get his act together outside the ring. Somebody needs to shake some sense into this young man who's incredibly talented, who does generate revenue when it's out there to be had. But he would not be the first very talented boxer to derail his future because of his out of the ring problems. Mm-hmm. So fingers crossed there. But that's the nucleus of what we're looking at to take boxing into the next decade.
You mentioned fighters getting in trouble midway through their career, derailing their career. Gervonta Tank Davis, let's address it. He's locked up 60 days. Someone like his mentor, who through his career had to do a stint in jail. And I just posted this up because the weekend ended with an all-time great Hall of Famer, no question, no doubt, Floyd Mayweather, putting on another one of his exhibitions against the son of a former mafia boss, and John Gotti, an MMA fighter. And if you didn't pay attention to social media, it ended in melees everywhere, whether it was backstage between reality TV stars or in the ring. Clarissa Shields posted this. She was ringside for this thing. She couldn't believe what was going on in front of her. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm starting to think Floyd and his exhibit. This is bad for boxing. I mean, it's a miracle somebody wasn't shot or stabbed. I just went to a fight. Gayle, you were most likely there too for that fight in Las Vegas a few weeks back, and I saw a couple of fist fights. and those are the ones that go unnoticed. Going to a boxing events can sometimes have an air of danger. Depending on the opponents, but you don't expect that at an exhibition. So I want to ask both Drew and you, is it time for Floyd to stop with these circus acts? Because it could have got out of hand. Someone could have really got shot at one of these events on Sunday. This thing was a melee. It was disturbing, and I don't think it's good for boxing. But what about you, Gayle?
I don't love it, but again, there's a market for it. Misfits boxing, influencer boxing, exhibitions. And I'm not completely opposed to retired fighters getting out there, letting people get to see them in the ring, perform, as long as they all understand what we're looking at. Nobody's pretending that it's anything different. This particular card was just a disaster from the get-go. I mean, didn't we all think something like this could happen? It did happen. And perhaps it's partially because the appetite for doing this is wearing off, and the caliber of fans still willing to go see these things is dwindling. Been there, done that, kind of bored with this. Let's move on. I think that's where we're at. I get it that it is very, very difficult for fighters to leave the sport, to leave the ring behind. Very few do it successfully. Floyd likes the spotlight. What can we say? If not this, probably going to find something else. So maybe we chalk it up to just one badly managed event, not enough security, all the things that go into, when concerts flare out of control, and they do too, but nobody says, well, let's stop having live concerts anytime soon. It's just get your act together, manage it better.
Drew, we're just a few weeks away from Jake Paul versus one of the most entertaining MMA fighters, Stockton's very own Diaz. We're just weeks away from that. So is it time for Mayweather or just everybody to give up on these circus acts or whatever you want to call them, exhibitions or influencer fights? I mean, is Floyd staining his legacy?
It's a fucking disgrace to the sport. And I don't care what anybody says. It's a fucking disgrace. And I'll be honest with you, I won't be surprised if John Gotti orders a hit on Floyd after that shit.
It was pretty scary.
Or makes him dig a hole up in the desert. But I thought it was a circus. I thought it was really what the hell. And who you got there to save Floyd? His good buddy Kenny Bellis. And everything. So
I never thought I'd see that, Gayle. I mean, we saw that Rolando Romero win a world title because of Tony Weeks. Tony Weeks making his statement this week. I've got to go back and examine that. But an exhibition fight stopped by the referee for what they say shit talking. I mean, and then to lead and segue into a melee. It was bananas, guys. It was a wild weekend.
Hey, this is becoming the boxing equivalent of professional wrestling.
Right.
And there's a place for it. It's entertainment, not sport. Let's just, make sure we're all very clear about what's going on. There are plenty of professional wrestlers who are former so-called legitimate athletes, in other sports. They make their transition. Everybody gets it. Everybody knows what they're looking at. The problem is Floyd is trying to blur the lines here and, fool people. And that can't be allowed to happen. But do I love it? No. Do I watch it? No, I don't. When it comes to someone like Floyd. If it's sold properly and everybody knows what they're getting into, managed well, everybody's health is taken into consideration, something that's well staged, well managed. Love or hate Misfits boxing. It knows what it is and it delivers what you would expect. I'm fine with that. It's not my cup of tea, but I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with these hybrid mishmashes where nobody's clear about what's going on. And there are still people who swear that Mayweather fighting Conor McGregor was a legit boxing competition. Maybe where you live in fantasy land is very happy and you love it, and that's great. But I don't live there.
Absolutely, Gayle. My wife had pointed out an article to me about an incident that happened here at UNLV at a fraternity who was putting on, they put on amateur fights. And this happened actually 2 years back, but I will say that I believe the state commission here acted, and they acted appropriately because the student died because they didn't really have appropriate, not only did they have medical staff not on hand, they also didn't have people properly trained to officiate and referee. And as you guys know, you don't play in the sport of boxing, and one single hit to the back of the head to a certain region can spell a life or death situation. And this poor student passed away. This happened 2 years ago, but at least that was handled. They don't allow that anymore without all the proper steps. So I hope to never see anybody get hurt in influencer boxing or anything like that. I really hope not. I hope they don't continue to allow these type of things to get out of control. Gayle, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We're going to wrap up the show. Make sure you guys follow her at PR Pro San Diego on social media. Is Regis Prograis Fight Week, guys, the guy that everybody thinks should be the cream of the crop? Maybe he beat Taylor in your eyes. That would make him the unofficial linear champ, but he just signed with DAZN. You guys know that friend of the show, Arnold Barboza Jr., his manager tried to get him to fight, but there wasn't enough time, so we're going to see him fight Zaria. Hopefully he'll get a world title shot. Jose Ramirez will get a shot at Regis Prograis, perhaps. Someone will get a shot at him, but he's at DAZN now. We're talking the 140-pound division. It's time to see how well he performs. He will be featured this week. Drew, do you have any predictions for this fight? I mean, is it even in question?
Pain.
Pain.
I'm messing around. Nah. Tell you the truth, he should get by him comfortably. This is like a showcase fight, and
right?
Like
his debut at DAZN.
Yeah, and like this card, I'm not really impressed with the card. Like, I'm not really been impressed with their zone lately, with the prices that they're making people pay, and for the BS they're putting out there. Like,
Okay.
I'm just not
Hey, you just
impressed.
got Munguia, Derevchenko, and a damn good undercard. And if you did not see the women's flyweight bout between Juarez and Floyd,
Fantastic.
it was a banger. Go back
My
and
wife
watch.
loved that. Two great
I saw
men.
about
Barbie
the commercial.
Juarez,
She was snoozing.
a legend. Barbie Juarez and this young, who I forget her name, but she just.
Mayeli Flores.
I mean, even my wife was saying she looks like a female Mike Tyson. The way she was using her legs to get her shots from underneath, and I haven't seen a knockout in female boxing in a very long time, but it felt like there was a knockout coming. And would the rounds be 3 minutes? I'm sure maybe potentially we could have seen that stoppage. Gayle, it's also Tim Tszyu week. We've got Regis Prograis. Are you excited, or are you at least happy Tim Tszyu is keeping active a real 154-pound contender who deserves his title shot? I like the fact that he's active and says, the hell with Charlo. I'm sticking on schedule. I'm going to stay busy.
Tim Tszyu has the modern attitude of this young generation of fighters. Get in, stay busy, fight the best. If they really hold true to that, that is what is going to bring boxing back. I am darn curious to see how Tim Tszyu looks after having suffered apparently a very serious dog bite to the arm a couple of weeks ago.
Just 2 weeks ago. Wow.
Just 2 weeks ago, 20 plus stitches in the arm. And, he basically said, no biggie. It's not hurting. I'm going to fight. I'm hearing the dialogue from a Monty Python film. It's only a flesh wound. Let me at it. But Carlos Ocampo is a live dog. He's certainly the underdog, but he might give Tim Tszyu a little bit of something to handle, and I am very intrigued to see that fight. Tim Tszyu has all the attitude and snarl of his dad with a dose of personality that makes him fun to watch. So we have two very dynamic fighters in the ring. Those two main cards this week, the Tszyu Ocampo fight and the Prograis-Zorrilla fight to enjoy.
Absolutely. And just a few weeks back, I can remember Brian Mendoza being an underdog and doing the unthinkable and stopping what many people thought would be the best 154-pound contender. Anything can happen, Drew. Drew, I'll give you your opportunity to give your last thoughts. Gayle, I appreciate you so much. I can't wait to have you on again for the next one. And make sure we get in touch when you come to Vegas. I want to take you out for lunch. If you have time.
Now we're talking. Well, I'm always hiding out there in Henderson. My brother is a resident of Vegas, as you are. You're the 408-702 now. You have to change your
I'm hunting UFOs part-time now.
Maybe that's what we really need to do is take a whole posse out into the desert and see what's up.
Thank you so much, Gayle, for joining us. Everyone follow her at PR Pro San Diego. We will catch Gayle next time. Thank you so much, Gayle.
You got it.
Drew, your final thoughts?
Who's down for some film study on Teofimo? Not me. But no. But look at it like this. Like, it's good that he's staying active, Tim Tszyu. It's great. It's good to see him active. He's doing the non-PBC way, staying active, so I can give him that. That's awesome. But he does not beat Jamar Charlo still, so people can still get disappointed. But I look at it like this, man. Like, I think that, it pays to, lead by example. If you're the cash cow, if you're the face of boxing, lead by example. Take the top, show everybody. I take anybody on, and I don't give a fuck who it is. And that's even El Bandana Rojo in David Benavidez. See, I'm working on the Spanish a little bit, but I got it.
You guys like that?
But I look at it like this, man. Like, this is going to be a good fight with Tim Tszyu.
Oh, really?
I think it's going to be a good fight, live dog in it. But even though he got bit by a dog, he's going to face a live dog now in the wing. But
hey, I'm looking forward to it. Anything that keeps me entertained on Saturday night. We had a great weekend. We were busy Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with fights. If you wanted to watch them Saturday, even, you know what? Shout out to Sonny Edwards, man. I wanted to say this. I saw some Media in the room, but Sonny Edwards looked Like, he didn't really take this guy serious on Saturday afternoon when I watched that fight. This guy from Chile, we've heard of Argentinian fighters. We know Colombia, Venezuela has world champions, but this guy from Chile came to fight and made it incredibly competitive. I don't care what you say, man. The guy was matching Sonny Edwards, though. Sonny Edwards stylistically seems like he can get away with fighting lesser opponents without even trying. I think now this fight between him and Jesse Bam Rodriguez is more intriguing than ever, because I've now seen both of them have bad nights. And I don't know, when both of those guys, like what happened this Saturday, the best of Teofimo Lopez showed up. I'm excited to see what the best of Jesse Bam Rodriguez versus the best of Sonny Edwards in a unification match might happen. That being said, regarding Teofimo Lopez, the show hasn't been that kind to him, but to be honest, he's like I said, he said deplorable things. You guys all have seen the videos of things when he tries to right his wrongs, things just don't come out right. Yeah, as far as being a fighter, man, he's capable of great things, and I'm ready for him to see him unify some of these titles, Drew. I want to see him against Regis Prograis. I wouldn't mind him seeing against Rolando Romero and take that fight, take that belt. Start unifying, and let's get a unified, again, undisputed world champion at 140, because any way you mix it up, if you throw in any of these young guys or any of these like Regis Prograis elite champions, man, there's going to be some fireworks. There is going to be some fireworks. Throw in Jose Ramirez, why not? Former unified champ. Throw in top contenders like Arnold Barboza Jr. This division has got plenty of talent, man. Go ahead, Drew.
Man, I look at it like this. First of all, man, I'll tell you, I'm going to break down Teofimo's performance in one thing. And nobody get mad. Nobody, I don't want nobody to put a hit out on me and everything. I don't need the mafiosos getting mad at me and everything. But he told his dad, "What you drinking tonight, Dad? I'm going to let you take a drink, and I got this dude tonight. I got this. You just sit in the corner. I'm relaxed. I'll deal with it." And you know what? He did it. That dude did it. "I got this, Dad. What you drinking, by the way? I got you on the bar. I got you on the down low." But that's the film. That's the breakdown. Film breakdown. Teofimo's win on Josh Taylor, the Tartan Tornado. Where the fuck he calls himself? He looks like
the
a
Tartan
fucking
Tornado.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking bootleg fucking drizzle storm now.
Dave, as far as Josh Taylor, he may have to reconsider. Paulie Malignaggi said he may have to go for a European title and take some time off and just start all over. It was a great weekend, guys. I want to make sure you guys all know that Drew and I do appreciate you no matter what. I see a dislike. Tonight here. If you like the shoe shine, hit that like button.
Yo, I tell you this right now, for the person that does dislike this, go fuck yourself with this dislike too.
Hey, that's something that Teofimo Sr. is very adept at doing, is giving the big FU to the audience now. But for real, thank you guys so much for riding with the shoe shine. Make sure you let somebody who likes the sport of boxing or MMA, let them know that you like the show too, and that maybe they should check it out, and maybe we will get some more subscribers. Drew and I will be back next Monday to talk about everything cracking in the sport of boxing. For that being said, man, peace out, everybody. See you guys next week. Have a great week. Peace.